21 review for a massive weekend. You could almost say weekday of football. Pretty slow news week, you'd have to say, I must admit. Hosted here by the superstar Chris Pepper, 377-game superstar of the East Keeler Football Club. And, Jdog's not with us tonight. A little bit under the weather. That's totally understandable. He's been working his tail off, trying to get the scoops across the weekend. He's also a little bit upset for Mr. Travis Boak finishing up. But it's going to be a massive, massive show. Lots to talk about. A cracking weekend of football. We're only 3 weeks of games left in the regular season. And so for a number of us, we'll be packing our bags for the snow or for Bali or for overseas trips, while others will be packing their way to September. We're going to cover all of that. We're also going to cover the big story that's happened today. Yes, if you want to know, Simon Goodwin has been sacked by the Melbourne Football Club. I know there's going to be a lot of people on the Chatski, a lot of people on the tweet are going to be asking me a lot of questions. I'll give you my thoughts about it very, very shortly. A couple of injuries to go through. Obviously, the retirement of Travis Boak occurring today as well. But yeah, lots to talk about. We've got the Rising Star. We'll get to the ladder in a very short moment in time. Yeah, it's going to be a cracking show. So for everybody, remember, give us a like, give us a subscribe, send it over to your friends, because this is the greatest podcast, AFL-wise, non-affiliated club podcast this side of the Westgate Bridge, and we love bringing it to you each and every single week. Rightio. Let's get the formalities out of the way, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get the ladder going. And if you have a look, we've got a new leader at the top of the pops. Yes, that's who we're talking about. We are talking about the Adelaide Crows, 144.1%. Massive win on the weekend against the Hawks. Collingwood have slipped. Third loss in 4 weeks. Has the collie bobble started to kick in? I'm not too sure. But I do think, from an injuries perspective, things are starting to take their toll with Collingwood. I know they're going to be bringing, hopefully, Frampton and Howe back this week, but still not convinced 100% just yet. Brisbane Lions, what a win. They took it over from Collingwood. Massive injury to come out of the weekend. Lachie Neale not going to be available for the rest of the home and away season. How's that going to fare leading up into their big games this week and moving forward over the next couple? Everything will be played out. Geelong do what Geelong do. Fremantle do what they do. They leave it to the last moment. Got the win once again in the last quarter against Carlton, who weren't too bad, I must say. So good to see some signs there. Gold Coast Suns, remember, they've still got a game in hand, but they're sitting at 52 points at the moment. Looking very nice, not just for a home final, but potentially a top 4 finish with their run home as well. Hawthorn, massive stumbling block on the weekend. GWS, another stumbling block on the weekend. And the Western Bulldogs, they are 2 games clear of the Sydney Swans. They are sitting on 48 points right now. But the key thing to come out of this is that they have got a pretty good run leading into the next couple of weeks. They've got Melbourne this week, which will definitely be a win. And so it's the teams like GWS, Hawthorn, and you'd almost, I won't say Gold Coast, but Fremantle having to continually win to keep their spot in there as well too. Rightio. We've also then got the Sydney Swans on 40. We've also got Port Adelaide are out. Melbourne are out. Carlton are out. St Kilda are out. Essendon are out. Richmond, North Melbourne, West Coast. Lots of things to be looking at from a ladder perspective. It's only down to 9 teams. Who do I think is going to miss out at the moment? I've got a feeling it's probably going to be Hawthorn, just due to an inferior percentage. But that saying, they are 6 points ahead of GWS. So I think they're going to be the 2 teams that are going to be fighting it out. If Fremantle can keep winning, great. But they have to keep winning because their percentage is sitting in between the 2 of them as well too. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. Who do you think is going to drop out? Love to hear your opinion on it. Tommy Roker's also saying the Swans can make it if GWS and Dogs lose out. I don't think the Dogs are going to lose. I think the Dogs are going to win 2 out of the next 3 and make it in. I just don't think it's going to be Hawthorn or GWS. And we'll have a look at the games coming up over the next week to see if it's going to lead a bit into that. But I'm fascinated to hear what everybody is thinking. Rightio. Let's check in some of the results from the weekend. Western Bulldogs. Absolutely amazing what they rolled up and what they rolled out on the Thursday night last week against the GWS. You couldn't say you were more impressed with Western Bulldogs, and you couldn't be more disappointed with the way GWS served up, especially what they did against Sydney the week before. You thought that they were going to come out and have an absolute blinder, but weren't able to do so. How good is it, though, when you got Norton and Darcy both kicking fives 2 weeks in a row, getting that form, which we've been hoping to see some of that gel in the last, probably for most of the season. But what they were able to do against a GWS without Taylor and without Toby Green, it just goes to show that you need to have all your good players playing really well when you're losing a couple of key cogs from that as well too. So Western Bulldogs, they're not going to go down fighting. And GWS, they're going to have to get some form in the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, they're going to see themselves out, which at one stage we thought they were going to be premiership bound. They might not even be playing finals. But once again, stranger things have happened leading into the back end of the season. Excuse me. Been a big day. Adelaide and Hawthorn. This was a cracker of a game. It just goes to show that Hawthorn got off to an absolute flyer. Adelaide crawled their way back. Hawthorn get back in front again, and then Adelaide just do what Adelaide doing. Fittest team, I'd say, in the competition. Best drilled team outside of Collingwood in the competition. Their forward line is immense. Their on-ballers and their leaders stood up, and they did everything that they had to do. Hawthorn, it was probably the win that they'll rue that they did not get, especially when you're 5 goals up against a very hospitable crowd over there at the Adelaide Oval. And to put the silence on them, very, very disappointing. But they're going to, once again, they don't want to be relying on other teams to lose to keep themselves in. They should have won that game with the lead that they had at quarter time. But once again, teams are putting it in the hands of other teams. No one is willing to stand up and say, I am going to be responsible for what's going to happen to us this year. Melbourne defeated West Coast. Well, we know what happened here. Melbourne, West Coast, one of probably the most boring games of football I've been to for the first half. These come out and kick 10 in the third quarter, kick 5 in the last quarter, do what they did. Absolutely sensational. West Coast, they're average. They're average. They're poo. There's not really much to talk about them at the moment. And, I think give them a priority pick. It's only making the competition look worse. Give them a priority pick. Give them a couple of picks. Maybe give it towards the back end of the draft, the back end of the first round that they have to trade out for players. I'd like to see that potentially happen. But Melbourne, great. It was a great win. Great to be there, especially to see them kick a really nice score. Not convinced. I did like seeing Windsor running through the middle. Langford does what Langford has done all year, and anybody counting him out of the rising star is an absolute fool because he has been immense throughout the entire season. Gold Coast defeated Richmond. Probably the less said about this, the most. Gold Coast are just doing what Gold Coast do. Really like the way that they're setting up. Anderson, Rao, love it. King getting a bit of form. Really, really like that. Richmond, really disappointing, especially if they've been so good for so long. But when you got the boys playing the older boys, it is going to make it a bit of a challenge, but I just didn't see it being as big as this. There were more disappointing results out of the weekend, but that was, really, really disappointing from Richmond's perspective. But I think from a news ape, he can sit back and go, right, we've played a team who's got a lot to play for. Let's get him out of the way. Let's move on to the next one as well too. Sydney defeated Essendon. I think everybody saw this. I don't think everybody saw this one to being as close as it has been too. Brodie Grundy, 39 possessions, the most ever for a ruckman. That's been spoken to the hilt. I didn't think Essendon would get this close, to be honest, so kudos to them for being able to deliver some sort of a challenging result. But when you got 9-14 versus 7 goals 12, not an exactly great game to be watching on TV. Sydney got the result. They're keeping some sort of chance to make finals there, but I don't think it's going to happen. Game of the weekend, certainly, my friends, it was Collingwood versus the Brisbane Lions. I don't think there would have been too many people picking Brisbane, especially what happened the week before against the Gold Coast Suns. But saying that, they came ready to play. They pretty much took the crowd out of the game for a majority of it. Was a brilliant tactic. And when you got this guy, Logan Morris, getting himself for the first time to get this to his name. Bags, bags, bags. We love it when they're kicking. Bags, bags, bags. It's got to be 6 of them. Well, bags, bags, bags. He has an absolute blinder. And for clubs saying that they should have picked him up earlier, well, people have been picking on Melbourne, been picking on other clubs for not taking him in the draft earlier. Yep, so be it. Absolutely immense. He's 19 years of age. He kicks a 6. He's also had the fact that he's 19-year-old with a premiership as well too. His upside is looking skyrocketing. And the thing is that I've said to Jdog many times that I can't see Brisbane winning it without Joe Danaher unless someone steps up, because I didn't think it would be Harry Hipwood. Logan Morris is doing everything he possibly can to step into his shoes. I still think the beastiness that is Joe Danaher and the presence that Joe Danaher has is something that they haven't been able to retain or haven't been able to get back on board. But yeah, I just think that it was a great result. It was a great result for the league because it was starting to get a little bit stale. And this fight for the 8 is epic. Last year, there was about 14 teams that could have made the 8. This year, we know that there's only 9 with a number of weeks to go, but the top 4's not settled, the top 8's not settled, and there's still an opportunity for people in the top 4, if they do not pull their finger out this week, are potentially going to fall in a complete hole and not even make it to September action. Rightio, St Kilda defeated North Melbourne. St Kilda were actually okay, but North were probably a lot better than what we expected. Larkey was awesome. Unfortunately, he's been injured. PCL going to be out for the rest of the season. St Kilda do what St Kilda do. They get the wins against the teams that they should and lose against the ones that they shouldn't. And North Melbourne, at one stage, looked like they were going to fall in a complete heap. Leave it to the last 5 minutes of the game to pull it back and make it a semi-decent 9-point result. But you don't think the result was going to be in any form of difficulty throughout that entire game. Geelong and Port Adelaide. Geelong absolutely smashed. I was sitting with Jdog and having a chat with him on Sunday, asking him if he was watching the game, and it was probably halfway through the second quarter, or towards the back end of the second quarter, and I said, Jdog, this guy, Jay Cameron, is already on 4 goals, and you know what happened? He ended up with one of these as well too, so he ends up with a bag. Geelong do what Geelong do. Down there at the category, absolutely smashed them. Couldn't ask for much more than that, and yeah, they did what they had to do just to keep their top 4 spot. And if they get a home final, finish maybe 1 or 2, it'll be interesting, especially with the capacity they've got down there now, whether they will ask for a home final, especially if it is against an interstate team. They've done it previously. They did it against Fremantle, and if you remember, they ended up losing that game. So will they do it again? I reckon they would. Will come down to the opponent. Rightio, and Fremantle Carlton. Hey, Carlton were pretty good throughout the entire game. It took to almost the last quarter again for Fremantle to strike back, get the win. Carlton can hold their heads up high, but it's going to be very, very challenging from a Carlton perspective, especially what's happened with Goodwin today. And Fremantle just need to keep ticking on the wins. They just need to keep ticking on the wins. I don't think they're going to make top 4, but they want to get that home final, which is going to be immense to them. So a really quick rundown of the round 21 fixture. Lots of chat coming through. I'm about to read those in just a minute. So Tommy Roker has gone absolutely berserk. Pies will drop out of the top 4. Well, they've got to... Look, the thing when I look at Collingwood is that they're just not humming like they did at the start of the season. And I'm a little bit concerned that they're not going to be able to sustain it. They've got some challenging games coming up. And the bodies aren't getting any younger as well too. That was my concern is that when you got that many over 30-year-olds in the team, they start to cause some injuries, some niggles, etc., especially as the season goes longer and longer. We've seen it already with Howe. We've seen it with Frampton as well. I've got a feeling there's going to be a couple of other ones. And the synchronicity between the players isn't what I would expect as well too. So hasn't been really dominant Collingwood performances. 3 out of 4 losses quite recently is also leading to that as well too. We've got Ninethorn, Pink Suns, Ethan Reid, Rising Star. I'll get on him at the moment. Callum Ward is retired, so I'll have a chat about him. Maybe Melbourne should go after Horse to coach them. It's an interesting mix on what you want from a coach. Do you want someone new who's got fresh ideas and is up at the modern game? Or do you go with a tried and true coach who's made finals, won flags, but hasn't really performed on a grand final day? That's my concern with a Horse. Is he being able to adjust? I'm not too sure just yet. We've also got Tuke Miller's back. Yes, definitely let them trade pre-draft NGA kids, I think that's not a bad idea. Would that be NGA kids from their own academy or other academies? I'd like to hear your response on that. Adam Simpson would be better than Horse. I reckon Adam Simpson would make a fantastic football manager. As a coach, tactically astute, but the way he sort of finished the last couple of years at West Coast will leave a bit of a sour taste in your mouth. Lachie Neale's out for the season. We had a bit of a chat about that. Quad injury is going to keep him out for the rest of the home and away season. How is that going to affect Brisbane? Well, we'll have a look who they're going to be playing this week, and it's going to be very, very interesting. I think they've got a midfield that's deep enough to cover him. But when you take a Rolls Royce out of your fleet, regardless of how good the fleet looks, you still got that mega power sitting in front spot, and you want to make sure that it comes back nice and fresh. So it's going to have 4 weeks off until he gets into the final series. So he wants to get him back. Hopefully it's not a big quad. He did play out the rest of the game. Top 9 teams won 34 of the past 35 games against bottom 9 teams. The Swans beat Freo. Upsets very unlikely for the rest of the season. Funny enough, we say that, but you could have 35 spins on blackjack and 35 spins on roulette. 35 spins on roulette, 35 are black. It's red or black on the next spin. Anything can happen, and it has happened over the last number of years in that back end. So don't be surprised if there is something that occurs that nobody saw coming. All right. And one last one. Dual rucks playing for both Freo and Carlton. Yep, definitely. And Mossy need to have a wild card finals round to give the middle 6 teams more live rubbers. No. I thought of wild card round, but if you've got 23 rounds to put your stake in the ground to get a finals position and you don't get it, too bad, too sad. Last year, remember, there was like 14 teams fighting it out for the top 8 quite deep into the season. I don't think they've, if you put another 2 teams in just for a wild card round, I don't think they're going to be doing anything. It's only just going to be a revenue take. So that's the way that I see it. It would give maybe a taste of finals footy, if you call it that. Maybe a lottery round. I'm not too sure, but I just don't think you just put in mediocre teams into a finals position just to sort of keep the end of the season interesting. I think there's plenty of things that are shaping up, especially with now clubs being able to forward trade 2 years of draft picks. It's going to be fascinating to see what clubs are going to do with that, and not just my future pick for 2026, but also 2027 could be affected depending on the way I finish as well too. So yeah, I reckon it's absolutely epic the way it's going as well too. Rightio. Let's get into the big news of the day. Rightio. Simon Goodwin was sacked. As a Melbourne supporter, you're probably asking me, a few people on here, are you happy? Yes, I am happy. Not happy for him as a person. He got us our flag that we've been waiting 57 years for. He's always going to be known as a premiership coach. If anybody says it wasn't a true premiership because it was an MCG, you can go and get stuffed. The way that I look at it, though, is this. I know we went out straight sets in 2022 when we went out straight sets after having a 10-0 start to the season. That was disappointing, but I think, like I've mentioned many times, the bodies were cooked. 2023, in my eyes, was the one that got away. When you lose by 7 points to Collingwood, 2 points to Carlton in finals, so a total of 9 points, and you go out straight sets, that's the one that's got to hurt. Especially when things were taken out of your control, like the Brayshaw Maynard incident, and we've also got the Setterfield goal with Oliver, etc. in the Carlton game. Bad choices at the end of the game cost us. I'm not holding that. But the last 2 years, there hasn't been any adaptation in the way that the game style has been played. There has been a bit of shift this year, but not what we expect. If you're a Melbourne person, you could almost pick who was going to be dropped and who was going to be brought in every single week, because it was the same names. People who didn't deserve to be there were constantly getting brought in, and people who were playing okay football were being dropped. Per example, Tommy McDonald was probably our best backman for a majority of the first half of the year and gets dropped to bring in Lever, who was underdone. Petty was underdone. Spargo was underdone. We could go on and on and on about people who had been gifted games, people who've been playing in positions that they shouldn't be. I'm talking about Petrarca, who should have probably been playing more forward. to get the youngsters and the youth through the middle, but that wasn't happening. And I don't think it's been cohesive on the field as well as off the field. There's no other factors, no president being there, no CEO, etc. I get all that. But you go into a press conference, you don't get inspired by it. The messages were always going to be the same time and time again. And something had to change. We've been going backwards, especially over the last 2 years. We've had 4 years of no forward line action that hasn't been solved. We need freshness from the assistant coaches, footy director, etc. So I think this is the first sweep in a massive clean out at the Melbourne Football Club. It's still a disgrace that we don't have a home. It's still a disgrace that they have to go to 3 different places throughout the year. And it's going to be a challenge to recruit players, good gun players to the club, knowing that you have to go in 3 different areas. We've got another one here. Andre Crott was the death knell for this D side. I don't think it was, but when you got players saying, well, you don't know what the premiership is like, or you're never going to be part of the premiership 22 or 23 or etc., that is going to be tough. And that's, yep. So they have $1 million less in the soft cap. Need to sack everyone. Yeah, they're going to have $1 million less in the soft cap. We get that. So be it. That's it. You got to remember they're also going to have a new coach who they're going to be bringing in that'll be on a little bit less as well if it's a newer coach. So it's going to be offset that way. But these are the decisions that you have to make. What it comes down to is, could Goodwin get a result where we were close to the final 8, finals next year? After what we've seen over the last 2, I would say no. And we need a fresh voice. We need a fresh game plan. We need, I think, someone who's not as matesy with the players, who says, this is the way it needs to be, and this is the way that I expect it. And if you don't want to be here, we'll trade you out. I only want players who want to be here. So Petrarca, Fritsch, Oliver, Lever, anybody else, if you don't want to be here, let us know and move on, because we only want players who want to take this club forward to be at the club. Stewie Dew's come up as a name. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'd love maybe a Corey Enright. I want somebody who's had success on field and off field as well too. So he's definitely had the on field side of things. You got Cameron Bruce who's made finals, played in grand finals, but has been surrounded by Hawthorn, been surrounded by Brisbane in their successful years as well too. So there's, I think, lots of options out there. It depends whether you want to go tried and true or take a risk on someone new. And if it was me, I would go get someone new on board. Trade Track and Clary. You could. It would free up a lot in the salary cap. What are you going to get back for them as well too? So if you think you're in, I don't think you can trade both out if you think you're in some sort of window. But if either of those want to go and you're going to get something good back for them, so be it. Be my friend. Go ahead and do so as well too. All right. Travis Boak has also retired as well. Love Boak. He's been playing for 19 seasons. Remember, he did get approached by the Geelong guys to come over many moons ago, but he stuck fat. He didn't get the ultimate success, but I will say he will go down as, besides Treadray and Wanganeen, you'd say he'd go down in the top 3 players of all time at the Port Adelaide AFL era. I'm not talking anything about the Sample days. And what a great a leader that I loved watching play football. He played it how it was. He played it hard. He played it the right way. Wasn't dirty. Just put everything into the way that he played. And just good luck to him and his family moving on after many seasons with the Port Adelaide. I think he's going to end up something like the 9th highest game tally in AFL history, AFL Vivo history, which is a monumental result. And the last one who also retired yesterday was Callum Brown. Now, Callum Ward. Loved what he did to the Dogs. Went up to the GWS. Absolutely smashed it up there. He didn't get the ultimate reward. This year, I thought he would have been a chance. I don't think I've seen many players do what he did, backing into packs, just absolutely having no regard for his body, just putting it on the line, left, right, and centre. He is a guy that I would love to run out behind, because if he's the leader of the team and I have to do what he does, because leaders do and everybody else should follow, he would be immensely one person I would love to be playing behind as well too. So he's definitely going to be missed. Like I said, massive career, virtually set the standards at GWS from the start. And yeah, I just cannot say anything more than those two, how awesome it has been to watch their careers. And unfortunately, one's gone down with a knee. The other one has been able to retire on his own terms as well too. So yeah, absolutely love what he did. Couple things here. Laurel Peps, my auntie, what a superstar, giving me the stars. Love you, Dale. Tommy Roker, the 7th highest player, so thank you once again, Tommy. Jules Julio, great to see him online, has definitely said that Enright would be an awesome coach. And Tommy's throwing this one as well too. Like Brett DeLudio, he left, and then his first club won a flag. So absolutely right. Yeah, sad day for Melbourne. A day to move on, but also the time to celebrate the players of Boak and Mr. Callum Ward as well too. Rightio, rising star, everybody. Have a look at this big rig. Ethan Reid. Hey, Ethan Reid. What an absolute gun. 13 disposals, 9 marks, 2 goals, and he is a strapping lad. It was interesting when they had the 3 talls down there, when you had King, you had Reid, and you had Jed Walter. I thought Walter was the one to keep his spot, but Reid has been amazing in his year as well too. I think he's a little bit more flexible in terms of the way they can play ruck, but his ground ball work is absolutely gorgeous. They call him a bit of a unicorn, and I think there is definitely something there. He loves contested marks. He loves rucking forward, and he covers the ground beautifully as well too. And that's what I like to see, is not just a ruckman who can obviously get from contest to contest. He's getting from getting the ball, disposing, and then getting and creating space for the next one, creating a contested option. So it's not always going to be up to King as well too. And he's got lots of growth as well too. So, you know, I love what Walter's doing. He's just stepped back a bit. Reid has definitely shot up this year as well too. Now, if Jamie was here, he'd say, what type of role would Ethan Reid be doing if he wasn't an AFL footballer? Look, he's pretty clean cut. He's got good hair. He's from Queensland. I could actually see him working at the grounds at Australia Zoo. He could also be one of those guys that runs the shows as well too, with the microphone feeding the crocs. I think he's got a bit of a spunk about him, got a bit of personality about him as well too. But I love what everybody else would think. Check him out. Yeah, looks absolutely stunning. Rightio. Bit of news coming through. There's that Ken Hinkley will be the new Demons coach. Not too sure. I would like for them to go through some sort of process. If Ken Hinkley was the new Demons coach, Jamie Wallace would be absolutely rolling over in tears right now, laughing his head off. He would be absolutely packing himself. Rightio. It's actually a bit of a shorter show tonight because I haven't got the great man with me. So let's just have a look at the childcare teacher. Don't mind that one at all. Let's have a look at the fixture for this week as well too. Right, Hawthorn, Collingwood. Now, there's going to be a lot of crappy games over the next 3 weeks, but there are games within games themselves. So here we go. Look, Hawthorn need to win. Simple as that, to keep their finals chances alive. Collingwood need to win to keep their top 4 chances alive. Now, Collingwood are coming off a 5-day break. Not many teams win off a 5-day break. And that game against Brisbane was pretty brutal. So I'll probably be giving Hawthorn, with those couple of extra days rest, probably giving them the props, even though I don't think they're the strongest team. Will Day out is going to make a massive issue for them, but I think that they're definitely going to have something there. Geelong versus Essendon down at GMHBA. Geelong, could Jezza have another 5? 6. this week. I would love for him to knock a couple big bags out in the next couple of weeks to make that run. He's only 20, he only needs another 21 to get there. We're getting a little bit excited by what he has to roll through. Richmond St Kilda at the MCG. I don't rate Richmond, but they've had a fantastic season for everything that they've served up so far. St Kilda should win this one and go a couple of spots up the ladder, but it wouldn't surprise me if Richmond did win this one. Brisbane versus Sydney. Right, Sydney, they've been really, really good over the last number of weeks. This is the game which I said that there's going to probably be some upsets here and there. Could this be one? Will Brodie Grundy run rampant with not having a Lockie Neal in the middle? Will the midfield be able to cover them up? I'm not too sure. Brisbane up in Brisbane is a different kettle of fish, but they have been beaten a couple of times up there already this year. That could be a 50-50. Carlton versus Gold Coast at Marvel Stadium. Look, Carlton were pretty good last week. They beat Melbourne the week before, so they haven't been too shabby. But what I'll say, though, is Gold Coast don't travel that well, but it's Carlton. So I think that they'll be able to take that one. Port Adelaide versus Fremantle at the Adelaide Oval. Could Port surprise everybody? Could they do it for Boakey? Could they do it for Kenny? Do it for the car? Because there's been a car crash so far in 2025. Could it be a new car leading in the last 3 games? Cause an upset and give Fremantle a bit of, oh, geez, we really need to do something over these last couple of weeks to potentially stay. GWS are thankful that they've got North Melbourne coming in right now. If Collingwood beat Hawthorn and GWS beat North Melbourne, Hawthorn are gone, and that means it's going to be getting down to the Doggies, who have got the Ds over this week at the MCG. Troy Chaplin will be taking over. Will they be excited? Will they be happy? I don't know what Melbourne team is going to turn up. The Doggies are playing great football, but we know their backline is pretty susceptible. Melbourne's backline is playing some pretty good football. I think they're just going to be one tall down, which means Norton or Darcy will get off the chain. And the last one to wrap it up, West Coast versus Adelaide. Adelaide will win that one absolutely easily. And that is going to be round 22, 23, and 24. 3 rounds to go. And then we're into finals, everybody. We get a week off, get a breather before the big dancers start to come in. We've got sack Ken, sack Clarko, sack Bevo. Hey, look, just sack anybody who isn't Chris Scott. I think that's the way it's going to be. I don't know who's going to be coaching the Ds. They've already got off the start. Does this mean Carlton are going to be able to now pull their finger out and do something about it? I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. But these last 4 weeks are going to be exciting. That top 8 is going to be shifting. And I'm looking forward to seeing who is going to drop out. I think it's going to be Hawthorn. But stranger things have happened. Hey, I'll see you next Monday night. Jdog hopefully will be back getting over. Oh, the caretaker. The caretaker is Troy Chaplin, if anybody is at the moment. Yes, and yeah, looking forward to another round, getting the big boy back for next week because we can't do Lacey out without him. It's so much better when we've got the big dog with us. So, hey, have a great week. Hopefully your team wins. And if Jdog was here, I'd ask him, and he'd simply say he likes his footy. Lace out. Have a great weekend, listeners.